Check this out, guys. This was given to me. When he first handed it to me, I thought it was saved from 1977. But Newsday did a reprint the other day. The Concorde. When I was a kid, okay, I would have been 11 years old when this came out. It was a big deal when the Concorde flew overhead. And I remember seeing it dozens and dozens of times when I was a kid. And when you look into it, they talk about it. They show the flight route. Okay, right here. And as it came, boom, right across where I live. That was part of its flight route. So, actually pretty cool. There's a picture of people in Queens looking at it. You can see it's a reprint. It's over 2025. So, it's a terrible reprint at that. But there's some interesting things here. I was going through, unless you lived here, you don't recognize it. It's a local paper. Looking at the stuff on sale. But what I found interesting was, as I was going through, I got something bookmarking it. There it is again, coming in. Talking about the Concorde and the 707, 747. Something with Elvis. Right, I guess Elvis was still alive in 77, right? Then he died in 78, I think. I don't know. But this is what I found interesting right here. Radio Shack. There's my 8-track player. You guys have seen that in at least a dozen videos. The red one I have that the tape comes out the side. There it is. That was on sale. $60 back then. That was a lot of money. Had that CB. I got it years later, but I had that CB in the 80s. So, but there's some cool stuff in here as you scroll through. We're talking about some diamonds. I'm just looking at the stores that were around here. I don't know if they were all nationwide. And it's cool that there's no area code in front of the phone numbers. Because we only had one area code back then. Unless you were in one of the 5 boroughs. The Newsday was technically a Long Island paper. Some of the things. Star Wars. Harry Chapin. Forget about him. But yeah, definitely some in there. I remember that fish store, the aquarium. Cars of 1978. TV Guide, we should look at that. Cars of 1978. I already scrolled through this. The Buick. Remember that gem? That was a real gem. That was the ones with the brake problems. Had the X brakes, which all modern day cars have. And you'd hit the brakes and they would go in circles. Oldsmobile. 78 Concorde. Saab. The 78 Roadrunner. Harassment. Look, they still have Pintos. But, Yankee Stadium. It's funny, the back, I think it's the back cover. There you go. You know what that is, right? Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson. There isn't a lot of classifieds, and they're very, very, very blurry, to say the least. But I see something here for $39,000. In Belmore. That would be $739 or $839 now. Well, I might have said it wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. Houses in Belmore for that, they're $1 million. Can't really. Yeah, house in Babylon Village, 22,000. 22,000. I can't buy a plot of land here for that. Well, I could. If I added, I turned that 2 to a 5, and then added a couple zeros, they're $500,000 for a small plot. Now, trying to see, you guys, you can see it better through the thing. Split level, Baldwin Harbor, $47,000. House with $47,000 now, I'd have a block. But definitely interesting. Yeah. Like I said, there's only one page of it. There's no like car classified. So this must be like the highlights of the paper. Rebuilt carburetors. Look at that. Double the price if it's a 4-barrel. Shouldn't it be double the price if it's a 2-barrel? Oil filter, $1.98. Fan belts, $1.98. I saw a tire. Here's some of them. Tire ads. I like looking at the old tire ads. Recap tires, regular or snow. Back then, steel belted radio. That's when you'd buy them and they'd explode. Muffler, 1988. Look at these Town and Countries. Look at that ad. I don't see anything like anything wild sized, if you know what I mean. Here's some more. I guess winter was coming. Yeah, they're all, I'm looking at them, they're all like standard size tires. Like Corvettes. What was that? EJ Corvettes? What's the name of Corvettes? I think it stands for, they always called it Corvettes, but I think it was, if you looked at the sign, it was EJ Corvettes, and the EJ was small, and I think it stood for 8 Jewish Korean veterans. That's what I think it actually stands for. Doesn't say it on there. Doesn't say it anywhere down here either. Alignment, $8.88. McPherson struts. Tune up, $26. Shocks, $5.79. Double duty. Another tire place. Like I said, all standard size tires though. Nothing, nothing crazy. Harrison. Nope, Farmingdale. This is literally when we talked about the Hyundai dealership and you went down the road, here's full of brush. You come to the corner, the Hyundai dealership, Sand Salvage, Surplus City, whatever they called it, almost directly across the street was Harrison Radio. And it was big. It wasn't no little Radio Shack. I remember going there when this was new in the late 70s with my friend. And I remember going in there and him buying speakers and things like that. It was a big store. So, grand opening. Well, they've met their grand close. And that's pretty much it. They didn't like each other. But then again, Billy Martin, I don't think liked anybody. So with that, I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The Rockaways. So, first landing at Kennedy Airport. That is pretty cool. With the nose tucked down. Okay, guys, we're out of here.